Hey everybody, it's author MD New. Welcome back to my writing tips and tricks for authors. Today we are going to go over the subject of how do you stay engaged with the story that you're working on or your current writing project. This is something that all authors deal with. We've all been there. It is a challenge no matter who you are or what you're writing. So I thought it would be a very good topic to cover. Also, one of you suggested this topic, so I did a little digging into it and did some research, and this is what I found. But before we dive into that, I'm going to ask you to please like this video if you haven't already, and to subscribe to this channel. It really does help. It really does get the message out there, and it helps other people find this information. So if you find anything of what I say helpful, I would really appreciate the like and the subscribe. Also feel free to share it with your fellow authors. So now that that's all out of the way, let's dive into my writing tips and tricks on staying motivated on your brilliant novel idea. So first, I know I've said this one before, but it does bear repeating. Read. Stop what you're doing and read. Now you can read anything. You can read a short story, you can read a poem, you can read an essay, you can read another novel. But what you're doing is you're giving your mind a break. It's very simple. It gets you out of focus on what you're currently doing, where maybe you're hitting some writer's block or something like that, and it takes you on a mini vacation. So it's something that just, it's recreation for your brain, right? Read something that is outside or inside of your genre. I know I've said this before. I know that we've talked about how authors need to be readers as well. So find a book that you have been meaning to read, or like I said, short story or poem or something like that, and dive into it. You don't have to read the whole thing all at once, of course. Read a chapter or two. Just enough to give yourself a break. And that's really all you need to do, is you just kind of need to take that break and then dive back into your project, and that should help you kind of come at things with a fresh perspective. The next thing up is to go back and edit what you've already written. Now, some people frown upon this. I'm mixed feelings of it, but for me, what I find, as with all of these tips I'm going to give you, is that when I stop or when I'm just not motivated to write anymore, I go back, I'm rereading what I've written, I'm editing it, and it just kind of helps me get excited for what comes next. It's just something to kind of regain that spark and just get your mind focused and off of kind of that current problem you're having. Because what you may find is when you go back and you're reading and editing, whatever stopped you from writing will be solved. So it's just another way to go about the writing process. Next, and this is something that isn't always going to work for everybody, but it does indeed work. Outline your story or the next couple of chapters. If you don't have an outline, create one. Create a basic outline for where you see the story going. Keep in mind, this may change, so don't feel like once you write it down, it's written in stone. Same thing with the next couple of chapters. You can go in there and you can say, okay, well, I'm stuck right now, but I know that I want to get to this point, and I know that I want to have this happen, right? So start diagramming where the rest of the story is going to go. This will help you to refocus your thoughts on the story. Also, what I find that helps out quite a bit is to, if you haven't already done this for your story, is create character bios. Now, what that will do is it'll focus you on the characters, and you'll be able to go into their backstory and maybe go into their history and maybe come up with some habits that they have. And again, what this will do is this will get you excited on how to incorporate these new things that you discovered about the character into the story. And that's all we're trying to do, right? We're trying to keep you excited and engaged with the story that you're working on, because the story you're working on is brilliant, and it's going to be something different than whatever else is out there. So kind of keep that in mind. The next thing, and this is for those people who need a routine, right? Who want to be very regimented. Commit to writing 500 to 1,000 words a day in that story. They don't have to be great words. They don't have to even fit 100% into the story. But if you commit to writing between 500 and 1,000 words a day, it will become habit, and you'll miss when you're not doing that. The great thing about this is when you're done, you can go back and edit it later. You don't have to worry about it. You're just writing it to write. You're committing to writing 500 words or 1,000 words per day on this story. Editing will come later. Next, and this is a big one, a lot of these tips and tricks that I've mentioned are all done in solitude, right? And that can be really lonely. So what I suggest is when you run out of motivation, or when you just hit that writing block and you don't know what to do, and you're just frustrated and you can't stay motivated in your story anymore, talk to other authors. If you're part of a writer's group, talk to them. Work with them. Reach out to another author who you know. Social media, for all of its pluses and minuses, is wonderful for this. Take advantage of Facebook and Facebook groups and Twitter and Discord and Mastodon and whatever platform you use. Reach out to other authors and just talk to them. Now don't be a me person, where it's all about me. But talk to them and hear what they have to say, and offer your own advice. Share your thoughts, because you want to become an author who helps other authors and writers. You don't want to be one of these authors who just only takes from the writing community. That doesn't help anybody, right? And that's not good for the writing community as a whole. You want to give back. Last, and I know I've said this before, is if you really hit that point where you're just unmotivated, the story's not talking to you anymore, the characters have given up on you, and you're just frustrated beyond all belief, take a break. There are no hard and fast rules to writing. If you need to take a break, then take a break. But commit to coming back to that story. Give yourself a time frame. Say, okay, I'm going to take the next 3 days off from writing. I'm going to do other things. But on day 4, I'm going to come back to the story. I'm going to reread what I've already written, and I'm going to dive back into it. Because you don't want to let it just sit there and fall by the waysides. You have to commit to your story and to your process. So yes, you can take a break. It doesn't have to be 3 days. It can be a couple of hours. It can be 3 weeks. But you want to take that time, give yourself a moment of clarity, but you have to commit to coming back to the story. That's where the writing 500 to 1,000 words a day will really help. It's like you can sit there and go, okay, I can't do this right now. I need to take a break. I will come back to this in a week, right? So you put it on your calendar, and then after a week, you promised yourself that you're going to write 500 words a day in this story. Again, they don't have to be brilliant words, but getting stuff on paper, even if it's just going in and writing your ideas for each of the chapter, right? I know this falls into the outline section, but it really does help. You can just sit there and go, okay, I've got this idea for some dialogue, right? And it's going to happen here. So I want to do this, right? We'll write out the dialogue. That counts. You don't have to write a story in order. Now, I actually do. I tend to write stories in order for the most part. But not everybody does. So maybe that's you. Maybe you need to write things out of order. So I hope that these tips and tricks help on keeping you motivated for your story. Because like I said, your story is going to be brilliant. You are going to write an amazing story. You're going to get it out there, and people are going to love it. It might not be millions and millions of people, but they're going to be people who fall in love with your writing and your story and your characters. They're going to love them as much as you do. So I hope that this helps. These have been my writing tips and tricks for authors in staying motivated to get your brilliant story done. Okay, everybody, I've been author MD New. Please, again, if you've made it this far, give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Have yourselves a great day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye, guys. Take care.